Hi, welcome back to Positively Positive. I just love having this channel and being able to share with you all of the wonderful things that I'm learning. So I just wanted to start out with a story. I want you to come along with me on this adventure. So I want you to imagine that you are driving your car down the road and you are happy, everything's just fine. And then all at once you feel your car start to slow down. You're not able to give it any gas. When you push the gas pedal, it's not going faster. And so you realize as you look down that your gas is empty. Your tank is empty. Your light is on. So you pull over to the side of the road and you have an empty tank of gas. What do you do? Think about it. We've all been here. We've all been stuck in the car, sitting there on the side of the road, thinking, oh, what do I do now? So usually we have somebody to call, right? Well, at least that's for me. That's always been, I've always had somebody to call, or, someone stopped to help me. Okay, so you're driving, your car's out of gas, and you're stuck on the side of the road. Now imagine that your life is going along just fine, but something is missing and you're not able to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish because your love tank is empty and it is running on E, and that love light is on and it's saying you're not getting what you're needing. So I'm talking about the 5 love languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. It's an awesome book. I don't know if any of you have read it, but I suggest that you pick it up. It's an awesome read. I have read it twice. Well, I've read it 1.5 times. So I started out reading it on just regular book, and then I changed over to an audiobook, and that was something that I could listen to in the car. So much easier, way better. And I've actually listened to segments of it more than once. So if something was resonating with me and I was just feeling really like, oh, that was great information, I listened to it more than once in that, that chapter. So what do you do when your love tank is empty? Well, I am going to do a book review for the 5 love languages. And it covers... Okay, so what do you do when your love tank is empty? You go read a book. I'm going to go over the 5 love languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. To begin, I'm going to talk about Dr. Gary Chapman. He is an awesome relationship counselor, and he has an educational background in anthropology, religion, and philosophy. So this book is not only for married couples, this book is for single people, people in relationships, and people who are married. It's awesome. It helps us, not just for our spouses, but for people in our lives, to learn how to show them affection in ways that they will feel it, the most. So just like there's different languages in the world, there's also different love languages. And so Dr. Gary Chapman has kind of gotten it down to 5 love languages. There are more, and so there's the 5 love languages, and then there's the subcategories of the languages within those categories. So I'm going to go over all of those, and I'm going to do this over a period of 5 days. So I'm going to split it up and talk about each language each day so that I can completely cover it, and so that you can get all of the information that's in this awesome book. So the book starts out covering those first 2 years of euphoric love, where it's kind of like a false feeling of being in love because it's not actually realistic. When you are in love for those first 2 years, so the honeymoon stage, it's almost like you're blinded to the reality of your spouse and what the things that they do that later on is going to drive you crazy. Or, that you're going to drive them crazy, because eventually they're going to lose that feeling of the honeymoon phase, the euphoric feeling of new love. And so what Dr. Chapman does is he helps us to see what real love is and how we can really feel love and express love to our spouse and to people around us. And it doesn't have to be just our spouse, like I said, just anyone around us and in our relationships. So we can learn how to express ourselves so that the people around us feel the love correctly. Okay, so there are 5 love languages. The first is acts of kindness, words of affirmation, quality time, so when you spend quality time with someone, physical touch, and receiving gifts. And so you can actually have more than one love language, but generally we all have one primary love language. So for me, I love getting gifts. It makes me feel so good, and I feel so loved when I get a gift. I have just a little story to tell you. So last night we went to the fair, and while we were at the fair, my husband picked me out some earrings, and I'm wearing them. They're really cute. They're little trees. And I am so excited about this. It makes me feel great. So this is something that gifts are my primary love language. So I love doing things for people and making gifts for them. And so usually the love language that you speak is generally the love language that you feel the most as well. So that for me is my main one. And then acts of service is another one. So I love doing things for people. And I also love having things done for me. It makes me feel really just warm and fuzzy. I love it. While this book does provide a lot of practical advice for couples, it does lack the evidence, and it has very little research to support what he's saying about the 5 love languages. So that is my one negative thing about the book. So let's go on and start talking about his first chapter and just get into the first. So I just want to talk about the love tank and what that is. And I'm just going to read an excerpt from the book and what Dr. Gary Chapman has to say is the love tank and how he came up with this idea. So he says, I liked the metaphor the first time I heard it. Inside every child is an emotional tank waiting to be filled with love. When a child really feels loved, he will develop normally. But when the love tank is empty, the child will misbehave. Much of the misbehavior of children is motivated by the cravings of an empty love tank. So this was by Dr. Ross Campbell, is who he heard this from initially. And so then he went on and he got thinking about this emotional tank for children, and he thought about in marriages and in relationships how when we have an empty love tank, then that's when in marriages people act out or misbehave as well. So he says, the need to feel loved by one's spouse is at the heart of marital desires. A man said to me recently, what good is the house, the cars, the place at the beach, or any of the rest of it if your wife doesn't love you? Do you understand what he was really saying? More than anything, I want to be loved by my wife. I just feel like this is such an awesome message, and it's so true. When we don't feel loved and we're not loved, then what's the point of being married, and what's the point of being in relationships if we're not getting those needs met, and if we're not putting in the effort to make sure that our spouse's needs are met, or the people that we are in relationships with, that their needs are met and that they're feeling like they're being taken care of and that their love tank's being filled. So that is what the love tank is, and that's what I was talking about, is the emotional tank, the love tank that we have, and that it needs to be constantly filled. So the first love language that we are going to go over is words of affirmation. Now, if someone has that as their primary love language, you are going to want to tell them how grateful you are for them, and tell them how wonderful they are and how you feel about them. And you don't want to just say words that you think they want to hear. You need to be genuine. You need to really tell them how much you appreciate them and how much they mean to you, because this love language, if it's their number one, it's really important for them to hear those words. So if you are constantly telling someone how awful they are, and that's their main love language, and you're constantly cutting them down, then they are just going to have their love tank on E. They're not going to be getting that love that they need. So it's important that we use our words in a way that's going to fill up our friends and our loved ones and our spouses' love tanks. We need to make sure that we're telling them how much we appreciate them. And this will be difficult if this isn't your main love language. It might be hard for you to express yourself. But with practice and just saying those things over and over again to them, it'll get easier. So saying nice things and loving things and the real genuine feelings that you have. So if this is your partner's primary love language, you are going to be amazed at how much they just will blossom and come out of their shell when you start giving them these words of affirmation, when you start telling them how much you appreciate them. They're just going to show you so much more love. Someone feels loved and appreciated, what happens? Then they're encouraged and they're motivated and their self-esteem goes up and they feel good about themselves. And when someone feels good about themselves, that's when they start giving love back, and that's when they can take care of the people around them. So it's super important. If you want to be taken care of, you got to take care of those around you. Okay, so I want you to look for my next video. I'm going to put it out tomorrow, and I'm going to talk about number 2 love language, which is gifts. So we're going to learn about that love language, and it's going to be so much fun, and I'm super excited because I love this book. So yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow. I love you. Bye.